the most powerful man in the world walks into the Roman Senate, alone, unarmed, trusting.
23 knife wounds later, he's dead on the Senate floor. His last words?
Looking at his best friend who just stabbed him. Hey too, Brutus? You too, Brutus? But here's what nobody tells you. Julius Caesar saw it coming. He knew they were going to kill him, and he walked in anyway. This isn't a story about an assassination. This is a story about how the empire that conquered the world started devouring itself. And it all began with one sentence.
Alea iacta est!
The die is cast. This is Caesar's betrayal. Let's rewind. Because Julius Caesar didn't start as Rome's greatest general. He started as a pretty boy aristocrat with a gambling problem. 100 BC. Caesar is born into a noble family, but they're broke. Noble name, empty pockets. In Rome, that's worse than being a commoner. At 16, his father dies. At 18, he pisses off a dictator named Sulla so badly that Sulla puts a price on his head. Caesar runs, joins the army, and that's when something changes.
The pretty boy who wore his toga too loose and slept with half of Rome's elite?
He's actually brilliant at war. He wins awards for bravery, saves a fellow soldier's life in combat, gets the civic crown, Rome's highest military honor. But then Sulla dies. Caesar comes home, and he realizes something. Rome is broken. By the time Caesar's in his 30s, Rome is eating itself alive. The Senate, corrupt. A club of billionaires who care more about their marble villas than the people starving in the streets. The military, loyal to their generals, not Rome. Because guess who pays them? The generals. The people? Angry, desperate. One bad harvest away from revolution. And into this mess walks three men with a plan. Julius Caesar, a charming, ambitious politician with massive debts. Pompey the Great, Rome's favorite general, already famous for crushing pirates and conquering the East. And Crassus, the richest man in Rome. So rich, he had his own private fire department, would show up to your burning house and negotiate the price while it burned. In 60 BC, these three make a secret deal. The first triumvirate. Share power. Run Rome together. The Senate hates it. But the Senate can't stop it. And Caesar? Caesar gets exactly what he wants. Gaul. 58 BC. Caesar becomes governor of Gaul. Modern-day France, Belgium, parts of Germany. The Senate thinks they're getting rid of him, sending him to some backwater province to deal with barbarians. Caesar sees an opportunity. For the next 8 years, Caesar wages total war against the Gallic tribes. And he doesn't just win. He dominates. He fights the Helvetii, destroys them. He crosses the Rhine River, builds a bridge in 10 days just to prove Rome can reach Germania, scares the Germans, then leaves. He invades Britain. Twice. First Roman general ever to do it. Doesn't even need to conquer it. Just wanted to say he did it. He writes about all of this, by the way. The Gallic Wars. His memoirs, written in third person like he's narrating his own legend. Caesar did this. Caesar conquered that. It works. Back in Rome, people are obsessed. Caesar's the hero of the Republic. But here's what's really happening. Caesar's building an army that's loyal to him. Not Rome. Him. 10 legions. 50,000 men. Battle-hardened, disciplined, veterans of 8 years of constant warfare. And Caesar pays them. Personally, shares the loot. Treats them like family. These men would die for him. And back in Rome, the Senate is starting to realize they've created a monster. By 50 BC, everything's falling apart. Crassus is dead. Killed, fighting in Parthia. The triumvirate is down to 2. Pompey, jealous of Caesar's success, cuts a deal with the Senate. Turns on his old ally. The Senate makes their move.
They order Caesar to disband his legions and return to Rome. Alone, as a private citizen. Ha 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 ha. Caesar knows what this means. If he comes back without his army, they'll put him on trial, charge him with war crimes, execute him, or exile him. Either way, he's done. If he refuses, he's a traitor, an enemy of Rome. There's a law, ancient, sacred. No general can bring his army across the Rubicon River, the northern border of Italy. Cross with your army? That's civil war. Caesar has a choice: surrender and die, or cross the Rubicon and fight. January 10th, 49 BC. Caesar stands at the Rubicon with 1 legion. His officers are begging him to stop. This is treason. This is war against Rome itself. Caesar looks at the river, thinks about everything he's built, everything he'll lose, and he says 3 words in Latin: Alea iacta est. The die is cast. He crosses. Rome's civil war begins. The moment Caesar crosses the Rubicon, Rome loses its mind. Panic in the streets, the Senate flees. Pompey, the great general, runs. Doesn't even try to defend the city. He sails to Greece. Plans to build an army. Come back and crush Caesar. But here's Caesar's genius. He doesn't chase Pompey, not yet. First, he secures Italy. City after city opens their gates. Why? Because Caesar's not killing anyone, he's pardoning them. Join me or go home. Your choice. I'm not your enemy. The corrupt Senate is. It's brilliant propaganda. The people love him. Within 60 days, Caesar controls all of Italy without a major battle. The Senate, in exile with Pompey, is furious. How is this happening? Because Caesar understands something they don't. Loyalty isn't bought with fear. It's bought with mercy and money. Caesar needs to secure his position before fighting Pompey, so he goes to Spain. Pompey has 7 legions there. Caesar crushes them. Not through battle, through maneuver. He cuts off their water supply. They surrender in 40 days. Then Africa. Same thing. Strategic brilliance, minimal bloodshed. But now comes the real fight. Pompey's in Greece with a massive army, senators at his side, Rome's old guard. Traditional military power. Caesar sails across the Adriatic with barely enough ships. The Battle of Dyrrhachium. Pompey wins. Badly. Caesar retreats. Everyone thinks it's over. Pompey's still the greatest general. Caesar got lucky until now. But Caesar doesn't quit. He lures Pompey inland to a place called Pharsalus. August 9th, 48 BC. Pompey has 45,000 men. Caesar has 22,000. Pompey should win. But Caesar does something unexpected. Pompey's plan is simple. Use his cavalry superiority. 7,000 cavalry versus Caesar's 1,000. Overwhelm Caesar's right flank. Surround him. Crush him. It's a good plan. Caesar sees it and adapts. He takes 3,000 of his best infantry, hides them behind his cavalry, orders them, when Pompey's cavalry charges, aim for their faces. I'm not kidding. He tells them to stab upward at their faces. Why? Because Pompey's cavalry are young aristocrats. Pretty boys who care about their looks. They'll break if you threaten their faces. Pompey's cavalry charges. Caesar's cavalry retreats. Pompey's riders think they're winning. Then Caesar's hidden infantry appears, stabs upward. Pompey's cavalry panics, breaks, runs. Now Caesar's free troops wheel around, hit Pompey's exposed flank. Pompey's army collapses. 15,000 of Pompey's men are dead or captured. Caesar loses 200. Pompey flees to Egypt. Thinks he'll be safe. The Egyptians cut off his head and present it to Caesar as a gift, Caesar cries. Whether from genuine sadness or political theater,
Nobody knows. But the Civil War? Effectively over. Caesar is now the most powerful man in Rome. The question is, what does he do with that power? Caesar returns to Rome not as a conqueror, but as a savior. And to be fair, he actually does good things. He reforms the calendar, creates the Julian calendar. 365 days leap years. We still use a version of it today. He redistributes land to veterans and the poor, builds infrastructure, creates jobs. He fills the Senate with his supporters, soldiers, foreigners, even Gauls. The old aristocrats are furious. He forgives his enemies. Clemency. Pardons almost everyone who fought against him, except he's also accumulating titles. Dictator, then dictator for 10 years, then dictator for life. He puts his face on coins, first living Roman to do so. He wears a purple toga. That's the color of kings. Romans hate kings. Statues everywhere. A whole month named after him? July. Julius. People whisper, he wants to be king. Caesar denies it, publicly refuses a crown multiple times. But the damage is done. The old guard, the senators, the traditionalists, the ones who remember the Republic before strongmen ruled. They're terrified. They see Caesar as a tyrant, a threat to everything Rome stood for. And they start planning, led by two men, Cassius, a bitter senator who fought for Pompey and was pardoned by Caesar, and Brutus, Caesar's close friend, possibly even his illegitimate son. They gather support, quietly, carefully. 60 senators. All agree Caesar must die. The night before the Ides of March, Caesar's wife Calpurnia has a nightmare. She dreams that Caesar is murdered, that she's holding his bloodied body. She begs him not to go to the Senate the next day. Caesar almost listens. But then one of the conspirators, Decimus Brutus, shows up, tells Caesar the Senate's going to offer you a crown for your eastern campaigns. You can't miss this. They'll think you're a coward. It's a lie. But Caesar believes him. There are other warnings. A soothsayer stopped Caesar in the street days earlier. Beware the Ides of March. Caesar laughs it off. His friend Artemidorus writes him a letter warning him of the plot. Names the conspirators. Caesar receives it. Doesn't read it. Too busy. On the morning of March 15th, Caesar wakes up. Calpurnia is still begging him to stay. He decides to go anyway. As he leaves, he passes the soothsayer again. Caesar smirks. The Ides of March have come. The soothsayer replies, "Aye, Caesar, but not gone." Caesar enters Pompey's theater. The Senate's meeting there because their usual building is under renovation. Ironic. Pompey's theater. The man Caesar defeated. The conspirators are ready, armed with daggers hidden under their togas. The plan. Timber approaches Caesar with a petition. Gets close. Grabs Caesar's toga. The signal. Everyone attacks at once. Caesar enters. Sits in his chair. Timber approaches. "Please, Caesar, hear my petition about my brother's exile." Caesar waves him off. "I already told you no." Shimber grabs Caesar's toga. Pulls it. "This is violence," Caesar shouts. Casca strikes first. Stabs Caesar in the neck. Caesar grabs Casca's arm. "Casca, you villain!" Then the others rush in. 23 stab wounds from all directions. Caesar fights at first. Tries to defend himself. But there's too many. He's bleeding. Staggering, and then he sees him. Brutus. His friend. His protege. Possibly his son. Brutus raises his dagger. Caesar stops fighting. Some say he says, "Et tu, Bruta?" And you, Brutus? Others say it was in Greek. Kaisou teknon? You too, child. Betrayal by the one person he never expected. Caesar pulls his toga over his head, so he won't be seen dying. and collapses at the base of Pompey's statue. The conspirators stand there,
Covered in blood. They've just killed the most powerful man in the world.
Now what? Here's what the conspirators thought would happen. They kill Caesar. The Senate cheers.
The people celebrate. The Republic is saved. Here's what actually happens. Silence, shock, then panic. The senators who aren't part of the conspiracy run, terrified. The conspirators walk outside, covered in blood, shouting about liberty and freedom. The Roman people stare at them. Nobody cheers. Because here's the thing the conspirators didn't understand. The people loved Caesar. He gave them land, jobs, bread, spectacles. He forgave his enemies. He won wars. And these senators, these rich, corrupt politicians who'd ignored the people for decades, just murdered him. The conspirators realize we didn't plan past the murder. No plan for what happens next. No transition, no leader. They just killed Caesar and hoped it would work out. Meanwhile, there's one person who isn't in the Senate that day. Mark Antony, Caesar's right-hand man, his master of horse, loyal general. One of the conspirators, Trebonius, kept Antony outside, distracted him. Smart, because if Antony had been in that room, he would have fought, and more people would have died. But now Antony's alive, and he's furious. And he's not the only one. There's a will, Caesar's will, and in it, Caesar leaves his gardens to the people of Rome, 300 sesterces to every citizen. And his heir? Not Brutus, not the conspirators. His heir is a 19-year-old nobody named Octavian, his great-nephew, the same Octavian who will become Augustus, the first emperor. The same Octavian who will hunt down every conspirator and end the Republic forever. But we're getting ahead of ourselves. For 3 days, Rome holds its breath. The conspirators are holed up on the Capitoline Hill. Armed, terrified the people will lynch them. Mark Antony negotiates. He meets with Brutus and Cassius. Makes a deal. You get amnesty. No trials, no executions. Everyone walks away. In exchange, Antony gets to speak at Caesar's funeral. The conspirators agree. They think it's just a funeral. Let Antony say nice things. Then we move on. They have no idea what's about to happen. March 20th, 44 BC. 5 days after the assassination. Caesar's funeral in the Forum. Thousands gather. The entire city. Antony stands before them. Caesar's body on display, and Antony gives the greatest speech in Roman history. Antony starts calm, respectful. Friends, Romans, countrymen, lend me your ears. I come to bury Caesar, not to praise him. He talks about Caesar's achievements, his victories, his generosity. But he doesn't call the conspirators murderers, not directly. Instead, he says, Brutus says Caesar was ambitious, and Brutus is an honorable man. He repeats it over and over. Brutus is an honorable man, but the way he says it, dripping with sarcasm. The crowd starts to get it. Then, Antony reveals Caesar's will, reads it aloud. Caesar left his gardens to you, the people, and 300 sesterces to every citizen. The crowd murmurs. Caesar gave them his wealth. Then Antony holds up Caesar's toga, the one he died in. Blood-stained, torn, 23 stab wounds visible. Look what they did. Look how they butchered him. He points to each tier. This one is Casca's. This one is Cassius's. And this one is Brutus's. The crowd is weeping now. Angry. Antony shouts, but Brutus says Caesar was ambitious, and Brutus is an honorable man. The crowd erupts. Revenge. Kill the traitors. Burn their houses. Antony steps back, lets the chaos unfold. The mob storms through Rome, hunts for the conspirators. They find a poet named Cinna. Wrong Cinna. not even involved. They tear him apart anyway. The conspirators flee Rome that night for their lives. And Mark Antony? He's now the most powerful man in Rome. But not for long. While Rome is burning, a teenager is traveling to the city. Octavian. 19 years old. Sickly. Quiet. Unremarkable. Caesar's great-nephew. And now, by will, his heir. Antony doesn't take him seriously. You're a kid. Go home. Let the adults handle this. But Octavian doesn't leave. He claims Caesar's name, calls himself Gaius Julius Caesar Octavianus. He claims Caesar's money, starts paying Caesar's veterans. Those same veterans who love Caesar, they start following Octavian. Antony realizes this kid is dangerous, and he's right. Over the next 13 years, Octavian and Antony will fight for control of Rome. They'll form alliances, break them, go to war. The Republic? Dead. Murdered with Caesar. What comes next is empire. And every single conspirator? Dead. Brutus and Cassius will commit suicide after losing the Battle of Philippi. The others? Hunted down. Executed. Erased. Caesar's death didn't save the Republic, it killed it. Because Rome learned something that day. Republics die when soldiers become more loyal to men than to nations. And once that happens, there's no going back. Octavian wins. By 27 BC, he's the sole ruler of Rome. He changes his name to Augustus, the Revered One. He doesn't call himself king or dictator. He's too smart for that. He calls himself Princeps, first citizen. But make no mistake, he's an emperor. The Roman Empire begins. The Republic is over. And Augustus rules for 40 years. Brings peace, prosperity, stability. Everything the Republic couldn't. Julius Caesar wanted to transform Rome. He died for it. Augustus actually did it. And no one could stop him. The Senate? Powerless. A rubber stamp. The legions? Loyal to the emperor. Not the state. The people? Happy, fed, entertained. Rome becomes the greatest empire the world has ever seen. But it's built on the corpse of the Republic. And it all started with one man crossing a river and 23 knife wounds. So here's the question. Was Caesar a tyrant who deserved to die? Or a reformer murdered by jealous old men clinging to a broken system? Depends who you ask. The conspirators thought they were saving Rome. They actually doomed it, because killing Caesar didn't kill what he represented. The idea that one strong man could do more for Rome than 1,000 corrupt senators. And once that idea took root, Rome was never the same. 23 knife wounds. But the story doesn't end here. Because while Octavian is consolidating power in Rome, Mark Antony is in Egypt with Cleopatra, the richest woman in the world, the last pharaoh. And together, they're about to challenge Octavian for control of the entire Mediterranean. It's a love story, a war story, and a tragedy. And it ends with an empire. Next time, Cleopatra and Mark Antony. The alliance that almost destroyed Rome. Subscribe. You won't want to miss this.